Hello, everybody, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's November the 2nd of 2016. Happy Dia de los Muertos, everybody. Chris is here. Nick is here. We're going to talk about manga. Isn't that right?
I guess we could. It's something
You
different.
could?
Something different for a change.
Huh? I know, I've got a tangent ready if you want.
Might as well, right? What would it be?
Yeah. I marathoned Luke Cage this past weekend. So, you know, the biannual Marvel Netflix, nothing else can occupy my mind kind of state of being. Have you gotten around to watching it, or do you plan to?
I finished it couple weeks ago, I think. 2 weeks ago.
I really, really liked it. I think it's probably the best one since original Daredevil season. And I would say best overall, but the last two episodes are kind of like, well, okay.
I thought it had the best ending of any of the Netflix shows.
What I appreciate about it is that, I mean, the reason why it's not that great is because, okay, the two major villains aren't all that good, but that's because they're not the actual major villains of the series, and that's what I like about it. It's something different than you would kind of associate with the series. I'm not gonna. I know it's been out for a month, so most people have probably seen it that are planning on seeing it, but I won't spoil everything. But I really like the development of everything. It does a great job of setting up, you know, all the characters in the series, as opposed to making you like certain ones and killing them off like Daredevil did. That was the most frustrating thing. I love first season of Daredevil, but like my three favorite characters all died.
I'm trying to even think who was.
I don't know. Well, I say three just to be safe, but definitely like my two favorite characters died.
Yeah, I guess I know one of them, but other than that, I'm trying to even think of people who died in Daredevil. I'm like, Nick, you weren't that attached to that Hispanic woman, were you? I liked it, Luke Cage, a lot. I did an entire podcast with my brother where I talked about it in length, and we also talked about how awful Misty Knight is at her job. Like,
poor Misty Knight.
She's astonishingly bad at her job.
There's a bit towards the end where she gets like brought in for counseling, and she has this breakthrough, and I was kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop at the end, like, she's playing this guy, right? No, she just bared her soul. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's good in that way. It has a lot of like really good actors in it. It's fun for me as a Wire fan.
Michael Coulter is great.
There's a lot of Wire actors in it too, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time I've ever seen the guy who played the guy who was a scientist in the show. The guy who does it. It's the only time I think I've ever seen that guy in anything that's not just a scumbag role, like not just a shitty like fucking lawyer or a doctor or something. Like he's actually that was something I wanted to. Good guy.
That was something I wanted to talk to you about, because when he first shows up, I was thinking to myself, I don't trust him, but I don't know why. And then I looked and I was like, oh, he was the scumbag lawyer in The Wire. That's why.
Yeah, the big douchebag from The Wire.
Oh God, like I don't think that there is like a single character in that show. Okay, there's one that I don't think quite works, but pretty much everybody else I think is like, wow, I get that character, and I think that they were done really well. You know, you get a feeling as to like, okay, this guy is just an idiot. This guy is conflicted, and none of them feel like they come across the way that they're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that honestly I think I like most about the series is because Luke Cage was from a comic strip that was very, very obviously blaxploitation inspired. It's got this, you know, 70s funk inspired soundtrack, which is just fucking amazing. I think that some of my favorite music now in the world is the shit's going down music that happens in Luke Cage, where something awful is about to happen. Because in almost any other series in that kind of moment, it would either go really quiet, or it would go low and droning, or there would be a sting. But in Luke Cage, you know, like an episode ends on a, oh man, is Luke Cage gonna make it cliffhanger? And he goes,
like so much bass to it.
That bit where the bazooka gets launched is one of my favorite musical moments in a series ever.
It's the way I've heard some people describe Luke Cage is that like it's neo blaxploitation because it's blaxploitation, but it's not parody. Like it has the same things. Like when a fight starts, like that's when like the twangy music comes in, like it's like Luke Cage about to beat some people up. But the scene at the end of episode 3, very small spoiler, but like it's like Luke Cage in a restaurant talking to an old lady, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." Then it pans away, and it's Cottonmouth like stink eyeing him, and you're like, "How did he get up there?" And then he just lifts up a rocket launcher and fires it at the building. I was like, how is this not attracting more attention?
It is my favorite moment in this series because it is such an unexpected escalation of everything. Like, because for this point, you know, Luke Cage has fought some of the thugs, and there have been rumors going around that he's bulletproof, which he is. So, yeah, his immediate reaction is like, I'm going to personally take a fucking anti-tank gun to this guy.
It was such a strange moment. I had no idea what to do when I first saw it.
I think I just basically went, oh shit, and I think that was... I mean, like, up to that point, I was definitely enjoying myself, but I think that was honestly a big solidifying moment for me that I like that series. It's an awesome show, and it's, you know, it's a Marvel Netflix thing, so, you know, you can watch it all at once if you want to. It's great.
Yeah.
I do, though, I mean, I do feel as though it suffers the same problem that, like, every Marvel Netflix series does, which is they always seem to have just a couple too many episodes. And it really shows in 1 or 2 where it's like, well, we don't really have anything to do, so we're just going to take this one part of it and go way slower than anyone wants us to, because we got to pad out this season for like one more episode than it is really needed.
Yeah, it's it has that issue. It's not perfect by any stretch.
No,
I still enjoy it a lot. Yeah,
I mean,
unless you don't like black people, which
apparently a lot of people do. Because Jesus Christ, the whiny bitches that have been complaining about there's no white people in this series. What are you talking about? There are at least 3 complete scumbags for you to get behind.
Yeah, there's a lot of white people. There's just all bad guys.
There's the dirty cop. There's the racist prison guard. And then, well, I think the most admirable one is the morally dubious experimenting scientist.
Yeah. They're all kind of shifty people to begin with.
Well, see, there is the one cop who replaces the crappy cop, but he's mostly just useless.
Yeah,
he doesn't really do anything.
It was it was Cayman I was talking to, Infamous Planet, and he's already like made a dubious distinction for himself because he's like, I hate the hallway fight scene in Daredevil because it doesn't mean anything, like it doesn't have a point. And I was like, well, that's just crazy because it's like
it's in like episode 2. It's character building.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, it's insanely like well developed. Like it's a well shot scene, and there actually is a point to it because it shows just how exhausted and, you know, battered down Daredevil is by the time he actually goes to save that kid. Because in that same episode, it's a flashback showing how he lost his dad at a young age, so he's saving this kid as a way to almost save himself. It's a great scene, regardless. He hates it. So, of course, we go into this. He's like, oh, I hate Luke Cage. Can they talk about something that isn't being black? Playing basketball. I'm like, you can't win, Cayman, I guess.
I think, honestly, the basketball scene really did kind of, like, set my expectations for Misty Knight way too high. Oh, look at this cool girl who grew up in this area and wants to protect it and stuff. What you gotta do? Well, mostly be a hostage.
She's just so bad at her job. I won't get into it again because I talk about it in the Hilarious podcast, but there's specific moments in the series where she does some really dumb shit as a cop.
I know what I'll do. I'll go in without backup. Maybe I won't get captured like the past 3 times I did. She's a main cast member. I think she'll get her chance maybe in season 2 of Cage. One more thing. Luke Cage is the smoothest goddamn guy. Fucking love Luke Cage. He's like, Jesus Christ, Murdoch, fucking get it together. Look at this guy. He didn't blow it.
Murdoch.
Matt Murdock.
Oh, okay.
Daredevil.
Gotcha. I was thinking like Murdock from fucking.
Come on, Murdock, you're playing up this smooth, blind lawyer thing so well. But I've got to protect people. I'm not going to get too close to me. Fuck it! Luke Cage is like, I'm the only one who's bulletproof. Whatever. Let's go get some coffee. Even though I don't drink coffee. This is a metaphor that will persist throughout the series of when I'm going to get some.
Keep up long after the point where it's lost its charm.
It really... at least
it's like after the third time he's done it with Rosario Dawson that you're just like, can we drop it? I get it. He doesn't like coffee, but he likes banging black chicks.
Well, she does kind of like call him out on it, and after like the third time, she's like, "Jesus Christ, you're so cheesy." You can tell. It's like, well, yeah, but you like him in spite of it, so it's charming, sort of. Again, just how stupidly cheesy he's being.
Yeah, so he's kind of like a dork. You know what? I don't want to throw us.
Plus, he punches guys.
I don't want to throw us down another tangent, but
okay,
this is going to be relatively.
So let's go down another tangent.
So I have been watching a lot of Supergirl with this new season.
Right.
I enjoyed the first season of Supergirl a lot. Actually, I thought it was pretty interesting the way it was done. They basically were like, "Hey, we don't have the rights to Superman, so we'll just do Superman stories with Supergirl." But this past season, Superman is now a character in the show.
Right.
And it was already kind of weird because in the first season, Jimmy Olsen was a character on the show. And Jimmy Olsen like has a character in your mind when you hear that name. You might think, I don't know what you would think of, but like scrawny, like redheaded, kind of dorky.
I think of that guy. I think of that unnamed guy who got executed in Batman vs Superman. Who Zack Snyder was like, "Oh yeah, it was totally Jimmy Olsen, and we killed him because."
Exactly. In this, Jimmy Olsen is a hunky black Adonis, like absurdly like muscular, handsome, like pecs just barely contained within his shirt. And it's like, all right, well, this is a bit. He's like, I want to be known. Call me James, not Jimmy. Like I'm an adult Jimmy Olsen, whatever. So they introduced Superman this season, and I don't know how they did it. I'm sure the guy's a fine actor. I'm going to post the image to you in Discord. They got the tiniest dude to play Superman.
Oh my god.
Like the smallest dude to play Superman. And I can't stop but love the idea that this Superman was next to hunky super god Jimmy Olsen. And Jimmy Olsen's like, I wish that I could be a big, powerful man like Superman. It's like his crying has already ripped his shirt in half. Like,
Look at that fucking chin. That is not a Superman chin. I'm sorry.
It's to me, it's entirely like it's like, did you?
He looks as thin as Supergirl. It's weird.
Supergirl looks bigger than him, and I'm like, great for her, but that's weird that you got like a stringy Superman. It's a strange method to go with, but whatever.
Yeah, I've got no. I understand your point there. I mean, I don't see an issue with Jimmy Olsen being black or even being handsome, but the dynamic has always been that he is, the little guy compared to Superman, but Superman is his best friend and stuff.
Yeah, like so. To compare it, I'll post another.
They're gonna get one of those, goofy Silver Age episodes where Jimmy gets superpowers for some reason. He's like, I can't believe I'm this powerful now.
Finally, I'm as strong as Superman. As like he walks by and you see Superman like desperately trying to open like a stapler. Like,
oh my god, you can see all four of their nipples.
He's like, oh, I'm such a tiny man. It's like women are behind him bouncing quarters off his perfectly taut ass. Oh shit, where were we? This was like 20 minutes of fucking nonsense.
I just brought up Luke Cage. This is all. We do, I guess, have to talk about manga, though. We are the weekly manga recap. So, yeah, I guess let's get into this. I'm really missing Amalgam of Distortion right about now. Because, first off, Amalgam of Distortion is great, and I want to read it. Second of all, I can't start with Amalgam of Distortion. I've got to start with Black Clover, when all I want to do is just scream profanities about it and piss everyone who likes it off. Oh, God. I hate this chapter.
What chapter is it?
It's
Black Clover.
Black Clover. Fuck, where is it? God damn it. Page 84. Battlefield Decision.
But Nick, don't you mean Black Clove Mayflower?
What the fuck?
We're in Thanksgiving month now.
No. We're not doing this every single month.
Oh,
God
fuck.
damn it. I like the 2-page spread that they have to start this chapter with a bunch of the Black Bulls in Halloween costumes. It's goofy and festive. I actually listened to the Shonen Jump podcast this week, and they talked a bit about Halloween in Japan and how it's a very new thing. They got the whole pumpkins thing, but they didn't understand really the costumes part until really recently, within the past several years recently. So, but it's a fun cover, and of course, 2 of the 4 female characters are in gigantic bust-enhancing outfits. But whatever, that's the spirit of Halloween too.
Yeah, I was like, that's what makes it that.
Yeah. So last time, Asta and company had managed to break into the Witch Queen's stronghold right at the same time that they observed that members of the Midnight Sun, as well as the Diamond Kingdom, were converging over the Witch's Forest. By observing the viewing globe, they see that the salamander-using woman is there along with Mars. And the salamander girl uses her flame spirit magic to set fire to the whole forest, starts just igniting trees everywhere. So the Witch Queen is forced to think of the position that they're in, where they've got this powerful spirit on one time, and then of course the invading kingdom on the other, and she's thinking to herself that they might not be able to hold out on their own. Then we get a bit from Vanessa's perspective, because she's kind of in a semi-conscious state after having her ass handed to her, and she has a flashback to presumably when she first met Yami, or I guess at least one of their early encounters. And Yami said, "Fate says I have to be here." Yeah, good old fate. I hate that stuff. Who listen to it anyway? Even if I have to crush fate, I'll do whatever I want. And she wakes up, and she observes someone in the same position as she was remembering Yami. And it's Asta, because Asta's so great. Everyone worship the ground Asta stands on. He'll do whatever it takes to get cured, even if he does something stupid. Get ahead of myself. Yeah, so everyone's greeting Vanessa. They're like, yeah, we came here to try and get the curse dispelled on Asta's arms. Vanessa then says, yeah, I'm going to arrange things with the queen so that you can do that. And Asta's like, no, don't do that. I said don't do that! His face is drawn very strangely in that panel.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm trying to think what that face really portrays.
It's supposed to be a goofy moment, but I don't know. This is such a weird sequence because it feels like it should be played much more seriously than it actually is. Because, Asta makes a great point here, which is that Vanessa is kind of being selfish in her own way by wanting to be the martyr so that Asta will be cured. And so he's refusing to agree to the method that she is trying to do. He doesn't want her to give up her freedom in order to allow him to live his life. And that's, a noble thought. It's like, no, I won't accept you going to this far just for me. And he then says, I have one ultimate method left, and tugs off the bandages to his arms, yanks out his magic absorption sword, grabs it in his mouth, and cuts into his arm. Now, people had made the point, why doesn't Asta try to use his magic-canceling sword on the curse? At the very least, just to show that it doesn't work. We know that he can control how aggressively he uses the magic cancellation technique. We've seen him stab through dudes' torsos. We've seen him whack people with the sword. We've even seen him pop small children very lightly on the head so that they stop being hypnotized. Asta goes straight to trying to cut his hand off. Like, just stabs. He goes roughly an inch or more into his arm with this thing. He probably reaches the bone.
I couldn't tell. I thought that neither of his swords actually cut, so I assumed he was just slamming it. But
well, you can see the flesh parting on that panel where he cuts into his arm.
Yeah, but
it goes into his arm.
In the panels after that, though, it doesn't look... never mind. I do see another panel later on. It does look like he actually took a chunk out. All right.
Stupid kid. Yeah. Vanessa repeats the point of, that's not going to work. Asta repeats, I'm not going to let my friend sacrifice himself. Vanessa then grabs onto Asta's head as he stubbornly tries to slash into his arm again, because if I can't have working arms, I might as well not have hands at all! Seriously, he's going to cut his hands up before that actually works. Yeah. Vanessa says, I was planning on using the queen, getting your arms healed, borrowing your anti-magic power, and hightailing it out of here. Oops. But you just said the queen. Again, it's a scene that features Asta refusing to let one of his friends sacrifice themselves, going as far as to cut into one of his arms, and the way it's drawn and the way it's paced, it seems wacky. It's so odd to me.
I don't know if we're supposed to... I mean, I guess we're supposed to take it a little bit serious, but I look at this and I think back to that scene in Naruto when they're at the start of the Zabuza arc where Naruto almost gets killed by those poison ninja and he stabs his hand. He's like, upon this injury, I promise to never be a ninja that weak again. And how that was a big dramatic scene that used kind of violence and self-maiming as a way to kind of portray a very strong emotion. In this, you could kind of see it, but at the same time, there's just a bit sort of missing, as you said, because it is treated mostly like it's a joke in this conversation. And even at the end, when Vanessa's like, you idiot, I was planning to sneak away the entire time. Oops. It's just that thing where you're like, huh, was no one gonna mention this to anyone else, or?
So... let's also go over the fact that Asta's friends were keeping all these things a secret from him. Why? Why? I mean, okay. Maybe if you didn't trust Asta to keep a secret, you wouldn't tell him what the whole plan was. But she wasn't planning on taking him along to begin with. So if she had told him the plan and left him behind, well, I guess that wouldn't have worked, because he'd be like, no, I want to come too, because I have to go everywhere, even when my arms don't work. So, okay, I'll take that. I still don't understand why the group that actually took him to the Witch Kingdom didn't tell him what the plan was.
It doesn't sound like anybody knew what the plan was. It sounds like this was a plan Vanessa had concocted on her own.
No, I don't even mean that. Because they just knew that the Witch Queen had some sort of ability to remove curses, and they didn't even tell him that. It was a running gag through the previous chapter that he didn't know why they were there. Mm-hmm. They were just kind of pulling him around for no reason. It's not like he would have refused to go along with them if they told him the plan. He would be like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go off on an adventure and stuff. Noelle calls out to the queen and says if she lifts the curse, then Asta will help her to defend the forest. And also, if she helps out Asta, then of course the rest of them will chip in. So the queen thinks to herself for a moment and agrees to cure Asta's arms and make them sturdier than before. But she thinks to herself while she's preparing her magic, but in the end, both Vanessa and the power of that boy's anti-magic sword will be mine! She summons a cocoon of blood around Asta to break the curse. It's a kind of cool looking ability because it's this, red cloud that's got all these veins and such, like poking into it like tendrils. And Asta's cured.
Ta-da!
I'm so done with this.
Here's the thing. There's likely going to be some catch to this. Since
I know.
She's talking about how, in the end, they're both going to be under her power anyway. I'm not bothered by this, per se. The only thing I found really weird about this chapter is the way everything's kind of coming together. I was, and this might just been me not paying attention, I didn't get the perception from last week that the battle between the Diamond Kingdom and the Midnight Sun was something that the main cast was watching. I just thought it was, and cut above to the forest, and this conflict is happening, and that the rest of the group would be unaware until the battle presumably filtered into what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where I was kind of working on it. It was weird for me when the chapter starts off and everybody's like watching that and they're like, we need to get involved in that, because I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know, I was kind of interested to see where this was going to go without Black Bull involvement for a little bit, since we still don't know a lot about the Midnight Sun, and we definitely don't know a lot about the Diamond Generals. It would be kind of interesting just to see that kind of separated from everything else for a little bit. I don't, I know some people are like, yeah, it's too fast for Asta to gain back his arms and things like that. I don't know if it's too fast. I mean, it's not as though other manga haven't done things like this. I mean, Toriko, I feel like didn't, he was missing his stump for a little while, but he eventually got a full fan back and everything like that. It's just the case of, does this arc have much of a purpose to it, or is it just like, oh, Asta being cured was just a way to get us to the Witch Kingdom and do some stuff there?
That's really the thing. Like, we've got another character who has, arm troubles that we recap. Deku on My Hero Academia. His using his powers over and over causes his arms to break down, and it was a running thing. Like, over the course of, like, a year, it was an ongoing concern. Like, from the very get-go, he would break his arms in order to do it, but then from roughly over the course of a year, they established that this is, not something that you can just wreck yourself and get cured. It's eventually going to do irreversible damage. You got to do something else. And finally, he developed this new technique so that he wouldn't put as much stress on his arms. Asta has these arm troubles, and of course it's a very different one because it's a curse and all the damage happens at once. And you get that character moment where he doesn't let it bother him. And, okay, let's give that a pass. But he doesn't go through anything while he's disabled. He gets into a fight while his arms don't work and doesn't struggle at all. He takes the guy out immediately while wielding his sword in his teeth. And then he gets pulled off and gets his arms cured with no argument on the part of the queen who does it for him. There is a catch supposedly in mind, but he's been bothered so little by this whole experience that I personally don't have the faith that this is going to be an actual hurdle for him, whatever catch there is to this cure. It doesn't seem to me like it's actually going to cause conflict. I don't know. What if, instead Asta had, his own ongoing struggle that he had to deal with, like the people that they befriended in the underwater temple, whom we're told are going to probably have to work really, really hard to overcome the loss of a leg and loss of their voice, if they're ever going to be cured in any way or are going to just learn to deal with it. And Asta, meanwhile, immediately goes off and he's fine, when he's suffered from something that was very similar to them. Something, okay, dance magic guy loses his leg, song magic girl loses her voice, sword swinging non-magic guy loses his arms. Those all seem very equivalent to me. And Asta's fine immediately. Whereas the two of them are like, we'll try and be cured someday. Why don't they just nip down to the water temple again and be like, hey, we found this girl who can cure everything for you? It negates so much so easily. It's too easy, is my problem with it.
I think I'm gonna need to see how relevant this witch is in the story going forward. Like, not even just in this arc, but how important she is long term to the series, because that'll change it. If Asta's injury is just a means to get us to this point, then I'm fine with it. If you're doing it to introduce something larger to the story overall. I'm past the point now where I expect Asta to have a story. We don't see inside his mind or anything like that. We don't see his turmoil. We got a little glimpse of it the other week where he's just like, I don't want to be sad again. But outside of that, I've just accepted that he's not going to truly, like, go through a struggle. Or maybe it won't happen until much later. I mean, the same thing could be said for Luffy. Luffy never really struggled until that finally you got that chapter after Ace died, and it was like, oh, shit, like, now you're seeing it all kind of fall apart.
Yeah, but it's not like Luffy got to a point where it's like, his hands are ruined and he can never punch anyone ever again.
Yeah,
there was never anything. There was no element of that actually introduced.
But they actually kind of have done that. Now, it remains to be seen if this pays off, but I think at least 2 times now, or maybe even more than that, Luffy has supposedly gone under, like, this is going to cut drastically off your lifespan training and things like that. And that really hasn't paid much dividends thus far. I think it will pay off.
Well, he is still only, like, 18 years old. So.
But it's just one of those things that, I'm just saying, and I don't want to make this a like fight comparison. I think both series do that sort of thing fine. I'm just saying, for me, what will redeem this is if the witch character is an important kind of antagonist or just figure for the series going forward, and that this ultimately was just a way for us to be introduced to her because she has a use. She has this magic no one else has. She could use it to heal Asta, and then we go from there.
My problems with her are twofold. It's, context in comparison to other similar series and context within the series itself. I think it really does bother me that this happened at the same time as the injuries to Kyato and his sister.
Yeah. Yeah, there is an unfortunate side effect to that, but, I guess even at the same time, Asta was trying to figure out a way to kick people really hard. So that was his thing. I don't really even know. But I honestly, I didn't mind this chapter. I just kind of need to see where this is all going, because right now I'm kind of like, eh.
All right. Speaking of in general, let's go to Fairy Tail.
Ugh, all right. So
I think this chapter fails to get to even levels, though.
Yeah, so all right, my mouse stopped working spontaneously on me, so give me 1 second here. Okay. We're going to be talking about Fairy Tail chapter 508, which is Alright, so here's what we're going to do instead. I can't do that because my mouse doesn't work. Alright, so we're just gonna have to get rid of this for a moment, guys. I'll be back in a second, video-wise. But, chapter 508, and the cover page, as you can very quickly see, is... I'm trying to think of the words for it.
What t-shirt contest, Luffy? Lucy.
Shameless beyond words.
That's roughly along the right lines, yeah.
Yeah, this is a...
Is it... Actually, I didn't even notice this before. Ursa's not even wearing a top in her little bubble.
Why would she? That'd be silly. So, this is...
Oh, wait, it is... Oh, wait, okay. I think that she is. I think that... Maybe? I don't know. It's hard to tell because of her hair.
It doesn't matter.
No, I don't think that...
So, this is Pleasure and Pain, a quite fitting chapter title considering the content. I honestly don't even know what to say about this chapter, because this is a squicky chapter even for Hero. So it starts off with Minerva and Rogue, I believe, talking about how most of the evil army has been put down because of Makarov's magic, but not all of them, but still most of them have been kind of taken down, which is good because they're super duper tired. And then Yukino and her sister are like also like, yeah, man, it's so good that we don't have many enemies to fight anymore. And that's when they see a big glowing light coming from the sky atop a mountain. As you look up and you see what's his name? They say it later on like 17 times, and I just can't see it the first fucking bit here. Lacarde.
Oh, you mean
Lacarde.
Right.
So it's Lacarde Dragonil, as you remember. He says, "Oh, I said I was returning the favor, and as such, I'm taking on all that stand against us." So he basically creates this giant flash, and he's going on this kind of speech, this monologue to himself of like, "Pure white souls, be free and ascend to the heavens." And we start seeing various female characters start quivering and like clutching their bodies in very suggestive ways.
Let's be fair. It's only the women at first.
Yes. Well, it's only the women when they actually need to show what's happening. Otherwise, it's just pained expressions of guys and them falling down. But yeah, it's basically a full page of like women clutching themselves while quivering, and then it's just person after person falling down and saying like, "Oh, it feels so good. Oh, it's so great." It's so weird. He's basically like using orgasm magic. Only the adults are like incapacitated. But then Mavis starts falling and she's like, "Oh, I can't resist it either." And Gildart starts going down. So Kana's like, "Dad, what's going on?" He's got like a creepy smile. So she punches him, which is creepy on a whole nother level. Then we cut away. And August has apparently just beaten all of the Oration 6, including not Gagio, what's his name? Gerard. They're just vanquished. And then it cuts away again. I guess it was just a quick shot to be like, August 1 until they wake up. Yeah,
he also makes a comment like, "Wow, it sure sucks whenever you use magic like this. It makes it super boring. Why can't you be a shirtless hunk like me who punches shit to death?"
Then cut over to Urza and Irene. We don't actually really get much resolution to that at all. Basically, they're about to fight. Wendy shows up using enchantment magic, and she's, I guess, not affected by the orgasm magic, whatever it is.
Find out. I think that he says how it works, and if my interpretation of it is correct, it's really gross.
So Zareth basically contacts him telepathically, and he's like, "Stop, you're causing damage to your allies." And Lacarde explains, he's like, "Well, my magic brings pleasure. Those who have sampled such pleasures cannot escape my magic. Do you have any inkling of what happens to humans when they are subjected to pleasure for too long? They perish." And that's when Yukino's sister starts getting wrapped up in like...
No. This is Yukino.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give
Serrano's
I don't give... I don't... Nick, stop! I don't care! They're all worthless! I could not care about which one is which at this point. Some other stellar spirit mage who isn't Lucy.
I mean, that's true, yes.
Starts having, like, spirit tentacles grasped around her, and the chapter ends. I don't want to get into this. This is like a really squicky chapter of fetishes that eventually Kaguya shows up to be like, "I'll defend you." And I'm like, stop trying to make Kaguya a thing, hero. She sucks.
Okay. Here's the thing about this. It honestly, like, the tentacles bit and the orgasm faces and stuff weren't what really got me about this. It's where he explains how the ability works, which is those that have sampled such pleasure before are the only ones who are affected by it. Which means he's basically saying, if you're a virgin, it doesn't affect you. What?
Yeah, I mean, that's the implication.
That's so weird.
They don't, like, note it specifically that it's, cardinal pleasure, but considering how everybody's reacting, that seems to be kind of what it is. But then what's going on with
Mavis?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know.
Did Mavis's baths with Zera really go that way? Like, it's so weird.
I don't know. It seems like a power that could easily be explained that it's like Because he seems to almost have like an enlightenment shtick to him, like the way he's posed and everything. So you could easily just say people feel pleasure until they like can no longer fight and they lose themselves, like they become like obsessed. You could just, it's one of the cardinal sins of just like, gluttony, of just enjoying yourself. Right. It doesn't actually be specifically sexual. You could have anyone.
Well, why the fuck is Kana not affected? Miss gets drunk all the time.
Because then you couldn't have a joke where she looks at her father and her father's got like a really scummy face on.
People in the chat are suggesting like maybe it's just like experiencing like any form of like adult pleasure, like lust or masturbation or something like that. Again, I have to point out, Kana, her whole thing up until sudden character development, which then never went anywhere, her whole thing was gets drunk all the time. So it seems like it's much more specific than that. So I don't know. Maybe Kana just is like incapable of feeling any sort of pleasure from anything. I guess she drinks to dull the pain and to forget.
Yeah.
It's such a weird ability and idea.
It's just very goofy, like, and just the end of Kagura coming in and acting like she's the savior to the situation. She does basically pose a scenario or a sentence that has Lacarde confirm that he's like not in with Zareth. He's actually Zareth's son, apparently. Mm-hmm. But it's still just a case of like, I don't care about Kagura. I don't like all of these characters I don't care about in this situation to begin with. The only two people I might have had mild interest in seeing what happens to them are Urza and Wendy, and you just said they're not affected because of Wendy, apparently, I guess. Or, I don't know, maybe Urza and all of her various nude armors is so chaste and void of any perversion in life, despite the fact she was like
only the purest of heart can wear the seduction armor.
I don't know. This is a weird. We had talked about when we were doing Air Gear, where like we should make apologies to Hero because Great's far more shameless.
You're making it so hard.
This is really coming close to like, we're gonna have to eat our words on that, because this is a pretty kind of creepy chapter. And going from one chapter that felt a little creepier than it probably should have to another.
Well, at least this one's kind of par for the course when it comes to Food Wars, though. This isn't like, it doesn't feel like an exceptional example of it. Oh, boy. You're gonna have to keep your camera off?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep it off for a little bit. I don't have another USB port at the moment.
Okay. Alright, so, Food Wars Shokugeki no Soma. 189, round 2. Last time, it seemed like Hayama had the advantage over Soma, but that was before Leonora's husband pointed out that they hadn't yet tried the dishes with their dipping sauces. And so they head into the second round of combat, trying the dish with the sauce itself. Hayama's, they dip into gravy! Yay!
Yeah, that seems like an odd one to go with.
It is described as a thick, creamy gravy made from bear stock. Who would have thought of using bear stock when making a bear dish? That's never going to go away, is it?
Everyone's just finding new ways to do it.
Yeah, use the stock. Accented with the tanginess of juniper berries. She tries it. Master Soe has the Nakiri family disrobing. His clothes explode off of them. We get a long, super scientific explanation of how Hayama's dish tastes. With the juniper berries, paired with Cajun spices, so on and so forth, is described as being perfect all around. Construction laid atop a foundation so solid it could be made of iron. His dish is an unassailable fortress. Master Yukihira must not only compete against, but overcome a dish like that. How can he possibly hope to accomplish such a feat? He can't. Only someone with a sense of smell as sharp as mine can build a dish like that. If a chef ever tried to copy me, it wouldn't work. Someone doesn't even react to everyone being like, oh, it's so good. It's so super good and awesome. Kuga, of course, is curious what the key to Soma's dish was. Chris.
It's honey mustard, Nick.
It's pretty much honey mustard.
You see, here's the thing, Nick. You get a piece of chicken, you dip in a little honey mustard, and it's perfect. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the nectar of the gods. This is a dish.
If you're gonna say it like that, you gotta say it right. Nectar of the gods! There.
This is what cuisine is all about. You know what? Fuck the chicken. I could just...
Oh, God.
It's so good. It just goes so well on itself. It's so... That's actually a lot of... Hold on. It's so good. This shouldn't even be allowed. Because every battle from here on in, people are just going to be like, well, I put honey mustard on it. And it's like, well, shit. I guess I lose. I didn't put honey mustard on mine.
And how few calories is it, Chris? How few calories?
It's barely any. I mean, this one might be more.
If you do a straight shot of it, you might...
Yeah, but like a tablespoon, it's like 10. Sometimes like 100 if you're getting like the really crazy stuff, but that's nothing. That's your caviar of honey mustards. So, I mean, just think about it. Like you get some, you put it on, it blends perfectly. You're like, so good. I might just rip my clothes off right now. Try to stop me. It's that good.
It's not exactly honey mustard.
It's honey mustard.
It's described by Soe as being honey and balsamic vinegar, and it's caramelized honey in particular. It is pretty much honey mustard. And I'm going to definitely just give this to you and say you called it because, I mean, like, let's be real. If someone, was like, the secret to my ingredient is brown sugar cinnamon pastries, then I'd be like, okay, that's literally the closest you can get to brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts as it's going to appear in this series. Like, It is literally not going to get any closer than that. So I'm going to say, Chris, you've been saying for a long time honey mustard's going to come into it. You called that it was going to happen with the bear dish.
Yes!
You did it.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Okay, Chris is going to go away for a bit while he celebrates, so I'll just keep going with this chapter.
Got my mustard and nuggets.
I mentioned before that I listened to the Shoujo podcast this week. They actually had a very long discussion about what the clothes bursting off actually means. Because they're like, so does that mean that they actually take their clothes off? That it's just a visual? Well, no, because they look down, they realize that they actually took their clothes off in this example. And I'm just like, I don't know, it's a fan service series. The girls are in their underwear now. It's described as Soe's reaction was so ridiculous that he actually imparted the disrobing on these two girls instead of just his clothes being ripped off.
Yes. That's actually a talent of the Nakiri family, that if something's so good, the disrobing radiates off themselves and just affects other people. Of course.
Know what this means, though? You know what this means? It means that we're eventually going to get a judge Shokugeki in, like, an arena, and one of the judges is going to be a Nakiri, and literally everyone in the entire arena and the bleachers and stuff is going to take their clothes off because it's been imparted to them. That's going to be, like, the world is being destroyed with giant hands owned by Acacia moment of Food Wars.
I can't imagine a scene that's going to be any more awesome than an entire stadium, like, all realizing their clothes are gone, and they're like, oh, it's that good! And that's when Alice is like, yeah, so I just put a little bit of honey mustard inside my clam chowder, and oh my god, it was like amazeballs. Anyways, thanks for the trophy.
Can I have my clothes back now? Thank you.
No, I'm just going to wear honey mustard home. And she's like pouring all over. So they're like, all right, this might have gone one step too far. Honey mustard makes a great condiment, not a very good attire.
No, oh God, so gross. Dojima explains why honey goes so well with bear meat. And he says that he caps the whole thing off by saying it is a masterful example of using both flavor, subtraction, and enhancement in the same dish. And Kuga theorizes that Yukihira must have thought of the idea while he was having his relaxing cup of chai. So even the chai that he had.
If I had my chai tea right now, I would show you a chai tea and a honey mustard drenched nugget, and I'd have been like, "This is the breakfast of champions. What are you gonna do?" Clearly, I understand gourmet because two things I really enjoy have been brought up here. You know what?
The same moment.
I bet if I went in there and I talked to Kuga right now, and I'm like, "Kuga, level with me on this. Chai tea with eggnog." He's like, "Oh, that sounds like a bloody whip a great meal, that does." And I'm like,
what the fuck?
I'm like, interesting. You didn't seem British before, but right now you certainly are. And he's like, "Oh, I stick it, I am." Pip, pip. I'm like, fair enough, Kuga. I'm just glad to have that validation in my life.
In response to Dojima's thing about Soma's dish using both flavor, subtraction, and enhancement, we get a flashback to when Hayama beat Soma in the Fall Classic and said he used spice subtraction and fragrance enhancement, two opposing techniques in the same dish. And Soma smirks and says, "Sorry, but I filched one of your techniques from the Classic to get back at you." Soe introduces that there is a problem here because all three judges believe that Hayama's meat dish on its own is the superior one, but combined with the sauce, Soma's is the superior one. So it comes down to time to make their decision, and the two twins are in disagreement. One holds up Soma and one holds up Hayama, and so it all comes down to Soe to make the final decision. Is it going to be Hayama defeating Soma and expelling him from the academy, or is Soma gonna get his revenge? As he puts it, the perfect fortress of flawless fragrance and deliciousness, or the powerful weapon that relentlessly hammers away at it with overwhelming flavor. Which will it be? And just as he's getting ready to announce his decision, the chapter ends. So I thought this was a cool chapter. But I mean, honestly, it was a cool chapter in the sense that it echoes the previous conflict that they had. And I think it does continue the point that we brought up last time, which is that Hayama coasted a little bit in this one. He didn't experiment as much as Soma. That was probably his undoing. And it definitely seems to me that, if nothing else, it seems like Soma has improved more since the Fall Classic than Hayama has now. I think that is going to be the final point in all of this. So at the very least, even if he doesn't actually defeat Hayama here, he's closing the gap between them. That all said, without the honey mustard reveal, this wouldn't be nearly as satisfying a chapter. When this moment happened, my God.
I sat there for a moment. I was like, I shouldn't start bragging about it on Twitter, because all I need is one person to be like, that's not mustard though, right? And I'm just like, I'm like, shut up! It's so close.
He combined it with balsamic. That is combining a dressing with honey. Therefore, it's honey mustard.
There we go. That's all I need. This essentially, Nick, this made up for that bubble fruit shit from so many years ago. I feel vindicated for that now. Because
the greatest thing about it is that because I wasn't actually directly opposing you, you don't actually get your revenge on me with this.
Well, no, it's just we can both enjoy this victory. It was just with a crazy out there prediction of pure passion, it's finally come true. Guys, don't let anyone ever tell you that dreams can't come true. Because if you believe really hard and put all of yourself into something, good things will happen. Believe it. Good things will happen. Good things like honey mustard with chicken. It's like they were made for each other. Except honey mustard he doesn't believe in monogamy because he has several perfect partners that he flirts around with in very open relationships, but none of the other ones date outside of it because they all acknowledge that Honey Mustard is the best. He's so loyal. He supports your house so well. Really handy.
Believe in the harem of Honey Mustard.
Yeah.
There's one gross harem.
Perfect harem.
My Hero Academia!
No Honey Mustard in it. Let's skip it.
Okay. Number 113, Tests Aftermath. Last time Yoarashi and Todoroki, while paralyzed, started to combine their quirks to summon a flame tornado around Gang Orca. Gang Orca mentally gives them props for doing this, although he does note it doesn't make up for their ridiculous squabbling earlier. But still. Gang Orca is momentarily disabled, but, of course, the other villains in the testing group are still at large, and so they're like, okay, well, we better take them down because just like a real whale, Big Fish is vulnerable to drying out. It's not a very flattering nickname for Gang Orca, is it? Big Fish.
I guess not.
He's not a fish. He's a whale. Come on, guys. He's a porpoise.
Stupid.
They try to shoot their guns at Todoroki, but he uses his ice-making half to summon a barrier and also take some of them out. And he recalls that, when he uses his left and right halves, they slow down his movements, but he's like, well, but I'm kind of disabled on the ground right now, so I can do both freely. It doesn't matter. Deku then jumps in and starts kicking away some of the villains. And then, very surprisingly, Ojiro appears and does something really cool. He grabs one guy by the arm with his tail and spins him around so that he fires his gun to take out two more of them. It's a cool little moment. And also, he uses a really lame one-liner. Need a hand?
My tail hand.
It's like a hand.
I'm an napalm.
Ashido and Tokoyami manage to jump in and help out as well. Some more students from other schools start to mop things up. And essentially the rest of it is basically a montage, except we get one more really cool moment from a UA student, which is Tsuyu suddenly revealing herself in order to attack, get the drop on a few of the gunmen, revealing that she has refined her frog abilities and can now use camouflage in battle. So a cool moment.
Yeah, I think they mentioned on the Shoujo podcast as well, but it's like, frogs don't do that.
Shut up. I think some species of frog might do it. I'm not sure.
Can frogs camouflage?
I mean, frogs do have a form of camouflage anyway. Like they blend into their surroundings with their just the color of their skin.
Some frog species are noted for being able to change their color and pattern. Gray tree frogs are known to go from green to gray to brown in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Barking tree frogs, which sounds made up, not only change their colors, but can display dark spots or unicolor skin to help camouflage. So I guess frogs can do that.
So there.
So take that, science people. Where's your so-called god now?
I love this moment with Gang Orca, the flame wall surrounding him, and he says, if I was an ordinary villain, I might surrender, beg for mercy. But that just ain't the case. From the second you hit me with this, I was already planning my next move. And his solution to getting out of the fire tornado is to take out a bottle of water and just smash it on himself. It's so great. Oh, it's fucking wacky. I love it. He sends out a shockwave in order to dispel the flame tornado and makes a really scary face while saying, "What now?" And Tokyo just goes, "I got nothing."
I fucked up.
Deku jumps into the fray and says, "Please get away from them!" While kicking at Gang Orca, who manages to block his leg with an arm. But right at that moment, a buzzer sounds, And the testers declare that every last HUC member of the field has been rescued from impending danger. Therefore, the test is over. So that's it. The little fight between Gang Orca and Deku are done with. It's done with. So that is done before they can actually get serious on each other. So Gang Orca starts to walk away. And some of the other guys are like, oh, sorry, big fish. And that restraint gear must have made it really hard to move as his cloak billows out of the way to reveal he's got this really big binding mechanism on his arm. But Gang Orca actually notes that, yeah, even without this weighing me down, they would have done some pretty impressive damage to me with the Flame Tornado and that sneak attack at the end. I'm not sure I would have even won if it had dragged out at that point. But, I mean, there was just one of him, to be fair, so, yeah. So, everyone has to wait a little while for the testing results to come in. They explain what the two issues that they deducted points were. One, judging on their ability to act flawlessly in a crisis, and also, you know, yeah. Well, no. He says there were two issues, and that was what they did overall. Yeah. It's really annoying because he says there were two issues. In general, the two together mean this. So they put up the names of all the people who have passed, and everyone starts going, oh, where's my name? And we see that Midoriya has passed. In fact, we also see that Mineta has passed because his name is close to Midoriya's. And then we see that Yaoyorozu has passed, but while Yoarashi is looking for names, he doesn't see his. And so he's like, yeah, it's not there. And we also see Todoroki reacting. We don't see whether or not he actually passed, but the implication, of course, is that Yoarashi didn't pass, so Todoroki probably didn't pass because he was fighting with Yoarashi. Mm-hmm. It's possible that he did, but I don't know.
I guess some people have actually counted it, and they're like, oh, like based on the numbers on there, 89 people passed.
Oh, by looking at the diagram?
Yeah.
So there were only 100 that went into that round, yeah. 89%, that's a lot.
A lot of people passed.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. From this point, I mean, we're going to move forward, and I look forward more to the aftermath of this. You know, seeing like for example, you know, we had the consequences of the students that didn't pass the previous test. You know, they were out of action when the training camp was going on. They had to take their remedial classes and stuff. I want to see what the consequences will be if Todoroki and maybe some other students didn't get their provisional license, what they're going to have to go through in order to make up for lost ground.
Yeah, I think I'm just kind of going to need to see what transpires because of this, because it was sort of established they needed to get their license so that they could defend themselves in public again, if need be, if the villain group attacks them, but it's still tough to really like solidify why this is so important, because it's not like succeed or you're fucked. Like, obviously, not everyone's going to pass, and it doesn't seem like Todoroki's going to. So, I'll be kind of curious to see what happens from this. But all in all, I was a little bit bummed out by this arc because I was kind of hoping for a little bit more to it. Mm-hmm. But we did get to get Gang Orca, which is pretty sweet.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I definitely see your point, though. Like, there wasn't a really big high moment in the whole thing. There were cool little moments here and there, especially where, you know, the lesser focused on students got their chance to shine, like Kaminari, like with, you know, Asui right here at the end, with Sero when he teamed up with Uraraka and Deku. But in terms of like a big meaningful moment for everyone, not really. Like this didn't seem like a really huge trial for Deku.
It didn't seem like a huge trial for him, and it didn't seem like much of anybody really got all that much characterization once the second stage began. You got a little bit with Uraraka, but that didn't really go anywhere. I mean, maybe if she doesn't pass, then maybe that is something for that as well. But I mean, I'd find it hard to believe if she didn't pass because they did.
With that many people passing, it seems like only the ones who made huge mistakes actually didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that this definitely did seem like something where it's about what happens next as opposed to what happened just in this whole sequence, which is kind of a bummer because we both kind of went into this being like, oh yeah, have to compete against other students and stuff. And there were a few moments of conflict here and there that were kind of interesting, but it didn't really seem to actually pay off what it was building up at this time. I think it's just going to be like set up for a payoff later down the road.
Yeah,
like where they have to work more with the Shiketsu and other school students now that they all have provisional licenses.
Yeah, the more of this that is interacting with these other characters, and I'm like, okay, this is more worth it,
Mm-hmm. One Piece.
Yes.
Chapter 844, titled Luffy versus Sanji. Guess what happened in this chapter?
Chopper shows up.
Last time Sanji rejected Luffy and Nami trying to recover him and bring him back with them to the Straw Hats in order to continue the charade going on with he and his family. Of course, if he were to try and escape, then his hand would be blown off. But Luffy is not hearing any of it. He's refusing to take no for an answer, so Sanji is going to take more physical approach to things. And he immediately uses his Diable Hanbei and kicks Luffy in the face with his fiery foot. That hurt. Luffy, of course, is made of rubber, but being kicked with fire still hurts him. And he looks quite shocked, honestly, when Sanji has kicked him. He manages to land on his feet, but his nose is busted and he's lost one of his teeth, and just the look that he gives to Sanji, he's just like, what the fuck? I can't believe you actually did that.
Bro!
Yeah. Luffy refuses to fight back against Sanji, and he's like, okay, fine, then go away. No! All right? And so he kicks him again. Sends him rolling along the ground. Luffy gets back up, and while Sanji continues to beat up Luffy, he remembers, of course, the first time they met, and Luffy asked him to join his crew. Nami is, meanwhile, begging for Sanji to stop it because Luffy is still in poor condition after having just fought with Cracker. And Luffy shouts back up to her not to interfere because this is a duel. To which Sanji keeps on beating up Luffy, tells him to get the fuck away, and Luffy still refuses. So Sanji kicks Luffy through a wall? I guess that's a wall.
Yeah, it's not quite clear where the wall came.
It might be one of the trees, or maybe it's just rubble on the ground. I'm not sure.
It looks like he clicks him through something, but yeah, it's not entirely clear.
Luffy still refuses to leave, so Sanji comes down him with this falling axe kick, just slams his foot right into the top of Luffy's head, and knocks him out momentarily, and he just slumps over onto the ground. So all the guards there are like, oh wow, he's got incredible battle prowess. He's so great. And so Nami comes up to Sanji, and she says, they made a note, someone made a note that, like, in the original Japanese, she just calls him Sanji. She doesn't call him Sanji-kun. And she slaps him across the face. And she says, sorry for overstepping our bounds, goodbye. And so, of course, Judge finally is like, it seems that unnecessary connection has been severed at last. And Sanji's like, let's get out of here. And he hops on the cart. They start to drive away. But Luffy recovers, stands up, and shouts after Sanji, what do you mean, inferior pirates? You know you don't mean that. Stop lying. You really think you can drive me off like this? Don't be stupid. You can kick me all you want, but you're the one feeling pain. and Sanji has his elbow propped up and his head in his hand to hide his eyes as he's very openly crying because of what he just had to do. And Luffy continues to shout after Sanji while the carriage rides off. And Luffy says, "This voyage isn't over yet. I'll be waiting right here. And if you don't come back, I'll just sit here and starve. You're the cook for my ship. I won't eat anyone's food but yours anymore. I'll just stand here and starve out in the rain and the snow waiting for you to come back. Without your help, I can't become the king of the pirates." Pretty badass chapter.
Yeah, it's a nice little speech from Luffy there. I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out, because it's sort of clear that Luffy gets that there's something not right here. Like, he doesn't believe that Sanji's betrayed him. I don't know if Nami completely gets that. But at the same time, it's not like he's saying, like, well, let me just wait and see what Sanji does. He's also still, like, firmly like, I know that you're still up. Like, I need you. So it's, I guess because the cart's riding off, they'll just go away and, like, we'll come back to this later. But it is one of those things I'm like, I feel like if I was Judge, I'd be like, oh, this dude's still alive? Hold on. I'm just going to jump off this cart and go raffle stomp this dude real quick.
Well, if he does that, Luffy would actually.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of one of those things where it's like, well, are you just going to wait for him to actually come back to that spot?
Yeah, like, are you just waiting for him to pop back over there, or what's going on?
But, you know, it's one of those things where it is, you do have to kind of accept it for the emotional moment that it is, and look a little bit past the gaps in logic. Yeah. Because otherwise, how the fuck are you going to appreciate this? But I really did enjoy this chapter. Yeah.
Yeah,
It made me feel things deep inside.
Watch out, Nick. Carde is going to take advantage of you for that.
Let's move on to Promised Neverland, chapter 13.
All my dreams are broken.
No, not all your dreams. Traitor, part 3. Last time, Norman revealed to Ray that he suspected that he was the traitor. And Ray responds with a smirk and says, "What are you talking about?" And Norman says, "You already realize it. Don't play coy. I set a trap for 3 people. I told Dawn it's behind. Yeah, the information was to Dawn it's behind my bed, and to Gilda it's in the ceiling of the bathroom of the 2nd floor. I said that in front of you and Emma. I actually told Dawn it was in the dining hall, and told Gilda it was in the library. So I retrieved all of the rope just now, and out of the 4 hiding spots, the only one missing was the one behind my bed. Dawn was merely framed. The traitor is you, Ray." Ray collapses on the bed, and he has a bit of a laugh to himself and goes, "I thought I was hiding it so well. You're right, I'm Mom's spy." So he asks Norman when he first starts to suspect him. And Norman says, well, it was the night that the sister came to the house. And we actually get a flashback of that moment where Norman was very intensely thinking to himself and was determined to win. And he had that really creepy moment where he was clutching his face. So apparently at that moment, that was when he actually suspected that Ray was the traitor. And Ray is impressed by this. Like, what, really? Right from the get-go. Of course, Ray was the guy who said, "Don't trust anyone." So there you go. Norman says he kind of felt disgusted with himself, and he suspected Ray first, and pursued it because it would be the most problematic if you were the traitor. And for the enemy's point of view, you being the traitor is the best. Because you can interfere with our plans, you can control the situation, no one else is better fit for the job. I wish it wasn't true, since that would be the worst case scenario. And I also wanted to point out one thing, because you're not just a traitor regarding this matter. And we get a flashback to when Ray actually passed information along to Mom. Basically, right at the beginning, he passed a note to Mom who the 2 people who knew about stuff were. So we actually get confirmation that Mom knows who knows what, whereas Sister just has her suspicions. Right. But Norman says, Mom would never trust a sudden tip or a makeshift spy this much. You were already an enemy on that day, and Mom had already figured out the targets by sending in her spy that day. So how long have you been Mom's spy? And Ray doesn't give a concrete answer, but he says since a long time ago. And Norman accuses him of being not just a spy, but a subordinate of Mom. And he's like, yep. And he's described as a sheepdog for the shepherd instead of one of the sheep. And he's been that way for seemingly years. And Norman recalls all the conversations and all the plans that they were making together. And even Ray's, talking about, I'll help you guys out. We're going to win this together, and so on and so forth. And of course, he's getting really pissed off, and he says, I've got a lot of things to ask you, but how much have you told Mom? And can the tracking devices actually be broken? And Ray's just like, well, what are you going to do if I tell you that stuff? Are you going to just cut me off? And Norman says, no, I'm going to have you by my side anyway. Mom thinks at this moment that through Ray, she has the situation under control, and it would be dangerous to let you go by casting you out like this. It would just arouse her suspicion. But instead, I want you to do three things for me. I want you to continue to be with us and guarantee our safety. I want you to share all the information you have, and I want you to decide. I want you to become my spy now. And Ray's like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you wanted that to happen, you should have just kept quiet and just used me. You should have kept on feeding me false information, and you should have just used me as your puppet in order to use me as a tool against Mom that way. That would have been the best way of making sure that everything would work. But Norman recalls the conversation that he had with Emma about what she would want to do with the traitor. And Emma saying that she would still take that person with them because if we escape, that person's life might not be guaranteed anymore. And I want to believe in the end, the thing with Gilda made me realize that. Ray told me to suspect everyone, and if he says that I couldn't see through Mom's lies, I don't have a comeback. But even if there is a traitor who is an agent of the demons, there's no one among our siblings who is truly bad. We're family who grew up together. And even if that person gets in the way, betrays us, or says I'm naive, I want to believe in him or her. And Norman says that he's changed his mind now and wants to believe in Ray as well, because you're a friend before you're my enemy. And then we get a very important revelation, because Norman says Ray was the one who hid the little bunny, the stuffed animal that was the entire reason that he and Emma went out that first night and ended up discovering the truth. And we get a flashback from Ray's perspective where he actually took Connie's rabbit from her and then planted it in the dining hall. So, and Norman even accuses him of saying, if she didn't find the bunny, you would have actually handed it to her. And you even told her that you didn't think Connie had left. If you hadn't said that night, we wouldn't have gone to the gate. You led us to go find the truth ourselves, the truth about this house. And you wouldn't have done that if you were 100% on Mom's side. You were controlling us. You were making sure we were cautious. You were controlling us the way that Mom wanted. But at the same time, you were also keeping Mom under control by using your position as a spy to the fullest so that we wouldn't get shipped out immediately. And we get another flashback explaining that he told Mom they want to escape with everyone. So as long as you're holding one of us, they won't be able to escape. The truth is, you haven't told her where the real rope is. So if you're our enemy, why did you give us a chance, even against Mom? You're not actually an enemy. And he finishes this whole asking Ray, why did you become Mom's dog? And that's where the chapter ends. I really like this chapter too. It took us like three different little surprising directions that I really wasn't expecting it. One, getting just full-on confirmation that, Ray's the traitor. But then the fact that Norman wants Ray to just join their side anyway. And then, but also you're not all a bad person, so you're going to be okay anyway. It's like, wow. This all got accomplished in one chapter. It was a really weird roller coaster ride.
Yeah. This was a really interesting chapter because it's tough to sort of have expected this. We had mentioned before, like, you know, they're probably not going to do anything to, like, the three main characters. So having that one of them has actually been the spy from the very beginning is pretty surprising. I think that's actually really good that the Promised Neverland is still doing this. It's still able to surprise us, essentially. Because for a story like this, if it doesn't have the ability, like if it falls, it doesn't have anywhere to go from there. It's not like, well, we'll just pick it up with the next arc, or, oh, well, we'll just introduce another bad guy and try to build it up from there. Like, it has to keep us hooked narratively. So if we're able to guess what's going to happen, if anything's too obvious, it's easy to lose interest. And the thing that got us kind of hooked to the series was feeling unorthodox, feeling kind of strange. It definitely feels strange when you establish three characters as leads and you're like, one of them was a fucking bad guy. Now, again... Traitor! Yeah, there's still obviously enough leeway in here that it's like, he may not be fully evil. Like, it seems like there's a part of him that's been trying to help them. So they have some wiggle room to work with, but it's still like, oh, I didn't see this coming, and this feels actually like it was being planned. It feels natural, and I'm really excited to kind of see more.
Well, and also it doesn't feel like all this stuff came out of nowhere. I mean, because we had our suspicions about Ray even before chapter, but also the thing about the rabbit, when Norman brought that up, I was like, that's right. That did happen. He could have literally just kept them all in the dark if he wanted to. So, you know, this logical step that Norman takes, it doesn't seem like it's an ass pull. It seems like, no, that is, you know, if you had been in that situation and you were keeping track of all this and you were as ridiculously smart as Norman is, then that seems like a logical conclusion to draw from all that information. So this is something where I'm sure some people out there who are listening who are like, oh, I figured this out a while ago. If you just look at the clues, it's all there. I'm sure that is for people, but just enjoying it kind of casually, this was a twist that kind of like put me on my heels. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can't take anything in this series really for granted. And, you know, it does seem like something that fandom does in this day and age where you're trying to figure out everything because you want to know everything. But sometimes, especially in a mystery series, you know, it can be fun to solve the mystery yourself, absolutely. And I think that any mystery that doesn't give you enough clues to solve it on your own, or at the very least, doesn't give you enough clues to suspect who the perpetrator of whatever, you know, act is in question is, then I think it's deeply flawed if it doesn't do that. And so if you can't figure it out, then it's a bad thing. But sometimes also just letting the story be told to you the way that it is meant to be told just makes it more enjoyable. Oh, and yeah. I definitely felt that way about this. You know, the way that everything has been paced until this reveal, I think that if I had just known, like, from the beginning, like, oh, it's Ray, but he's not really a bad, then it would just be telling me stuff that I already knew, as opposed to, oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even necessarily, like, mysteries that have to go by this. I feel like, and this is sort of a tangent, but I feel like might as well bring it up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we never do that in the show. But just the sense that, in general, like, I think when it comes to culture and entertainment, we do that a lot where we try to guess what's going to happen or try to figure it out from what's been given to us before. I like the Song of Ice and Fire series. And because there's been such a long delay in books, people have essentially figured out the rest of the story. Like, right. Not everything, but they're like, well, this is going to happen because these foreshadowing clues were placed up. These things are going to happen because these foreshadowing clues are placed up. And I'm like, I know that you don't have a lot to do because we're waiting for new books to come out. And you're also just a fan of the series. But I'm like, I don't think I'd want to, like, do that because then you're robbing yourself of the ability to just enjoy the story as it comes out. So, yeah, I'm sure there's some people out there who are like, yeah, got it. You know, I figured this out. But, like, to me, I'm just like, it's just interesting to experience it.
Okay. Let's move on to Red Sprite, Chapter 10, Dawn. Last time Tatsu stepped into the fray as Alfred was fighting. He was going up against the other Plasmaros that were summoned by the enemy army. Tatsu keeps up his fight in this chapter and basically just kind of wallops all of them except for the main one, the number 5, who is, you know, kind of freaking out over like, oh shit, why is this guy so strong? And he starts to get ready to retreat because he doesn't want to fight against Tatsu, but he gets caught all of a sudden. His body freezes up And Alfred comes up behind him and explains, the blood of human plasmos has magnetic properties. I've magnetized your blood bit by bit while we fought and stopped your red blood cells from carrying oxygen around your body. You shouldn't underestimate the soldiers of Albion. So he's dead. That's freaking hardcore. Just blood bit the shit out of him.
It's like, ooh, kind of dark. I guess when you have blood-based and bone electric powers, you kind of put into some grim deaths at times.
Yeah, I guess so. So the fight is now over. Tatsu gets to greet Alfred, and they exchange a glance. But as Alfred starts to get ready to say something, suddenly Tatsu faints. And he's like, what the fuck? And Tatsu says that he needs a recharge, and Alfred realizes that he's out of power. They essentially it's because he just did the transportation. And yeah. So Mono and everyone bring him back on board along with Alfred. Mono gets to recharging Tatsu, which he does with tentacles.
As you do.
As you do. They have a little bit of a conversation. Tatsu wakes up and says that he's fine now. And Mono has this really creepy moment where his wires are wriggling around. And he's like, are you sure you don't want me to give you more? It's like, Jesus Christ, this is a very sexual week of manga. 2 tentacle chapters. Tatsu praises Alfred's abilities and says, you've got a power that stands out more than me, the leader. But Alfred says, but you're no longer my leader. I am now a soldier of Albion, and now we've said our final goodbye, so I must make my way. But all of a sudden, a young girl suddenly makes her way into the room. And he is very surprised to see her. And she suddenly just goes straight up to Tatsu and says, I'm glad that you recovered. I know about you from what I've heard from Alfred. I'm sorry that we can't give you much of a reception in our country, and we know you are also a target of Edenia, but, well, anyway, I suppose 6 years have done your friendship, and all of a sudden he just face, like, in the most demeaning way you can grab someone's face, because it just takes her lips between his 2 fingers and just... and says, like, well, thanks for your concern, but you should bund your business. I'll play with you some other day, little girl. And Alfred's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because everyone else but Tatsu knows who she is. She's the general... She's the queen of the fucking country.
I like
this little fucking girl.
I like how, even though he's, like, treating her with the most disrespect possible, she's just fucking casually, like...
What the fuck ever.
She just faced it down. Like, she doesn't act like, oh, how dare you? She's just fucking cool. She's like, I know who I am. And when you're about to find out, like, a hot moment, and you're going to feel like an asshole.
She says that Edenia is on the brink of destruction, and she knows that they won't stop until it's all as... the enemies won't stop until the entire country is gone. So in order to minimize the number of casualties of this lost war, there is no choice but to offer my head immediately. I will stand at the border and show our citizens and soldiers the end to this war. This is my final act as Queen Beatrix Artorias Albion. So I get the feeling that she's probably going to actually be an important character. Because first off, she gets her giant, introductory panel there with her name and captions and stuff. Also, we still don't have a lot of female characters cast.
There's only one of the 6, heroes that's actually a female.
And also, she's got now a very quickly established dynamic to both Alfred and to Tatsu. So, although I did look up recently how all the new series are doing. Both Love Rush and Red Sprite are like bottom 2 in Jump right now. They're not doing so hot. Promised Neverland's doing fine, but we might not get too much more Red Sprite, unfortunately.
Yeah, it remains.
Which would really suck if that happened, because that's going to be the second series from this guy that ended really quickly. If that happens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's not all we get from it, and we get a little bit more at least. We shall see.
Speaking of series that are going to end, this is surprising, a somewhat surprising bit of news that we got about Toriko, which apparently is going to be ending in like 2 weeks. I mean, we kind of figured that it probably was going to be ending soon, but it's just kind of weird to have that. Yeah, it's ending in 2 weeks. Just it was, think about when Bleach was getting ready to end this year. We had rumors of it winding down for a long time. First off, it was actually declared that it was in its final arc when it started several years ago. Then we got the news that it was going to end in like a few months, and then it turned out that news was actually it's going to end in a few weeks.
I was going to say, well, so Toriko didn't go out there with that douchey fucking like end coming in blocked number weeks.
Right. The news apparently that this comes from is just that there was an announcement in like this or next week's Jump saying, yeah, it's going to end in 2 weeks. So it feels rather sudden for a series that has been as big as it has. I mean, it was one of the top 3 series in Jump for a while.
It's another one of those series that we started off reading, this was in the magazine when we started doing weekly manga recap, so it's a bit strange thinking, because, we look at the other ones like Naruto and Bleach. I mean, those were series that had been running a decade plus at that point. Whereas you look at Toriko and you're like, 393 chapters is nothing to scoff at. But this arc, despite the fact that it's involved pretty much every character and had a lot of elements of finality to it, hasn't felt as final as like the Great Ninja War or the Soul Society arc, even though the Soul Society arc didn't have a lot of conclusion to it. There's still that sense of like.
I mean, we made jokes that like, well, Ishida hardly got to do anything, but he did have a fight. Like, yeah. Coco and Z teamed up and then lost off panel.
Yeah, they just got killed by Froge in the fucking back channel or something.
That's it. Yeah. Anyway, Gourmet 393, Acacia's feelings. The final blow has been struck against Acacia and Neo, and Toriko has just thanked Acacia for the meal. And he's crying now, and Acacia's like, why are you crying? And Toriko says, there's no need to keep on hating. Let it go. Yourself and Neo too. That beautiful appetite. And Acacia actually does start to cry, and his face starts to return to how it was normally. And we get the Acacia was actually kind of a good guy flashback. I'm like, no, sorry, you talked way too much trash about Froze for me to care for you.
When it was just him like, there are benefits to being in a partnership. Like, okay. No, you don't understand. Misunderstood.
There's no reason for you to direct your hate at him, Toriko. That's why I, a foolish human, had to fan your flames of hate so that you could destroy Neo, whose appetite was pure. It's not good or evil. Shut the fuck up. You're a douchebag, sorry.
It's Acacia Henry Kissinger?
I guess. I had to fan your flames of hate, Toriko.
It's not about responsibility. I just want to solve the mystery of my own appetite.
We get a flashback to a conversation that he had with Pear, which, honestly, when I saw this bit, I was just like, fuck you. I could barely read it. It's just like, fuck you, you're an asshole.
There is a lot to it, too. It's not like you could just, skip.
I can't just sum it up. I know. I have to admit, I've read this scene 3 times now, and I've barely processed it at all, because every time I see Acacia's face, I just keep on remembering where it was like, no, I lied to you guys. I didn't love you at all. It was all an act. There was a cool moment that did stick with me, though, where because he's had these conversations with Pear way back in the past, and Pear doesn't understand human emotion, and Acacia was trying to give him hope by saying that there was the flavor that stresses Neo. It is the flavor that could be friends, And Pear's like, no, there is no hope, because when Neo has consumed something, then it is gone forever. He said, no, the energy of appetites is constantly being reborn, and that's true with gourmet cells as well, so I won't accept that they've completely vanished. There is, the quantity of energy doesn't change, and ingredients to all of them cycling out, they are born again and again. And so Pear realized after all that he could see his comrades again. They could be saved. And so he started crying, and he's suddenly like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm drooling from my eyes. Keisha says, no, those are tears. So I thought that was kind of a cool moment, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, what is this feeling, this emotion?
This human emotion.
This humming emotion.
You know as Lobe?
It's pronounced love. Why is there an E in it?
Our language is strange.
Does that mean it should be pronounced as lobe? No, that's like a plural form of bread.
Listen,
Wouldn't that be
dickhead.
loab?
Listen, dickhead. You stop criticizing my fucking language, and maybe I won't spin you into flavor space to die.
Nope, I'm doing that anyway. So now Pear is crying because he realizes the person that Acacia actually was, and that he's dying now, and the sacrifice that he made. But Acacia just says that he's happy with the way things have turned out. He starts to black out and says, "This is goodbye." Oh no, my consciousness isn't fading anymore. What happened? Did someone use knocking? Midora, it was you! As your last attack, you used a knocking on me. When did you realize my goal? Midora says, when I put an end to Joey. What, back then? What you did wasn't knocking, it was a finishing move. So, this is all very, very intense, deep information that we're suddenly getting here.
Yeah.
Like, every little balance of what we knew about this entire dynamic is suddenly being revealed to be a lie. And a whole bunch of stuff like what you thought happened then actually was this. And what you thought happened then was actually this. And a lot of it is very confusing.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to digest all of this basically in like one.
It all happens a little too quickly. Because this is all like still the first half of the chapter. Other stuff happens after this. That is also very important. Midora says that what he copied from Acacia wasn't a technique. It was warm affection. Oh, God. So, from all of this, the world is still collapsing. We cut to inside of the Earth, where Tepe and Aimaru are. And Aimaru is saying, you've got to stop this. You've got to use knocking on the Earth. And Tepe is like, no, I can't. And Aimaru's like, no, you're the only one who can. And so Tepe is reeling his fist back, and he's like, I don't know what to do. How do I even start? And all of a sudden, Jiro appears and is pointing his way. And he says, in the spirit world, I was told I have a job to do by Ichi, so I'm here to guide you in order to help you knock the Earth. Listen, the title of Master is now yours. And so, Jesus Christ. So Tepe does knocking on the Earth to stop it from being destroyed. Yay! The chapter's still not over. Oh my God. Paris says,
Deep breaths, Nick.
This is still a problem, though. The cancellation of the Earth's detonation is still a problem because the passing of the flavor's baton's been interrupted. A planet prepared by gourmet cells is set to age and mature until ultimately exploding, and the energy it gives off is greater than even that of a supernova explosion from a huge star. At the moment of explosion, a massive amount of heavy elements synthesized, simultaneously creating new metals like golden materials. That is gourmet material. The elements along with the flavors are condensed to become the basis for new ingredients that exceed the flavors that have existed so far. And over millions of years, they are reborn, and that is how the next few new satiated planet and full-course meal are born. In other words, the Earth's full-course meal is also the flavor inherited from past planets. And if the planet doesn't destruct now, the next full-course meal can't be born. That's what this means.
Toriko, food is good. It's good and tastes yummy.
So
Yummy, Toriko.
Toriko concludes from all this by saying, the flavor baton of the vast cosmos would stop with our Earth, but I still can't let the planet be destroyed. So Acacia says, the Earth's flavor may end here, but there are other flavors on Baku too. Flavors greater in number than even the Earth's. Inside Neo, inside of me. So, and Paris says, wait, you mean the ingredients that Neo has ever eaten? Yes, the amount is immeasurable, but I'm sure that in the afterlife, my partner, my beloved chef, is already preparing new ingredients. I guess this is the end of the road. Now my plan is complete, but there's one thing worrying me, Toriko. I have a request. Take care of Neo, my beloved revived appetite for me. He's been all alone for so long. And Toriko says, okay, thank you, and goodbye.
Because he's so weird. Just hanging out, staring at you.
Take care of him. He's just misunderstood, even though he wants.
Yeah, he might try to eat you, but that happens sometimes.
Goodbye. Proceeds to regurgitate all the ingredients that Neo has ever eaten. That's the end of the chapter. Whew. So, okay.
All right, World Trigger. No time to digest that or talk about it.
Forget it. It's too much. I mean, I get it, but it's very, very difficult to explain. Mm-hmm. It's a very intense amount of information that you kind of have to more just been reading along to this point and just feel what it means than to actually be able to decipher and explain it.
Yeah, you get the impression. Mm-hmm. That just has to be good enough for you, god damn it.
World Trigger, Chapter 163, User Emma, Part 2. It's the Slice of Life chapters of World Trigger, Part 4, I think, now. We do get a little bit, slightly more action this time as we see Chica and the other snipers doing sniper training. It's specifically radar searching, where they are supposed to only find their targets via the radar. If they find the targets via eyesight, then they don't actually get any points for it. And of course, Izuho is there, and so the cat is there. And the cat is like the starring character of this chapter because it gets on being passed around between the snipers as they're hanging out. But that comes a bit later. They kind of talk a little bit about how each of them are doing in the tests. Izuho says that she's still a long way from being called out to be a regular agent like the rest of them. Chica grabs the cat, which she precursors by saying, "Ooh, I see a kitty." Wait, no, that's not her. That's Oki says that. Sorry. And he's like, "I see a kitty, and I see Amatori with the kitty. How you doing?" Cat. Nice cat.
Everyone wants to hang out with the cat.
Everyone loves the cat.
Meanwhile, the cat's like, I can't wait to see all of you murdered, crying at my feet.
Bring me the golden goose so that I may feed upon her Tryon. Meow.
No. Now I must nap for 6 hours, and if you wake me, I will be furious.
I will curl up in your lap now, but only on my terms.
Yes.
Try and, if you make me sit on your lap, I won't want to sit on your lap. This lap. This part of lap looks good. It is the part of your body that does not have clothes. Time to claw. Make sure it is comfy. Why are you bleeding? You are not supposed to be bleeding. It makes it less comfortable. Now I must start over. I will start on this end now. Oh, other leg.
I see that you look like you want to get up and go away. I shall pick now to lay down on your lap. God help you if you want to move now.
Time to sleep.
I hate you so much, cat.
No pets. Okay, now pets. Now pet me. No, headbutt to make sure you pet. No, don't want it anymore. Stop it.
I didn't want to be pet-like. I thought pet meant food.
Oh, good, there is food. Need more food. Toma mocks Oki because he fucked up in the simultaneous fire with Chica. And Oki excuses himself by saying, "Oh no, since I'm an only child, I've always thought it'd be great to have a sister like Avatar." Like, what? So you're saying you got scared of trying to take her out? No, I just couldn't shoot someone as cute as this girl. And Chica's like, And User suddenly I like this little moment because Izuho is like, ooh, Yuzuru is reacting. And then Yuzuru gets really flustered and stands between them. He's like, you stop it. You're bothering her. Only her and definitely not me. And then, God, what's her face? Hat Girl. Who's with...
Ayami?
That's not it, I don't think. Let's check the chat room because Annalise will tell us.
I feel like it's something with an A or an H.
Isn't it?
Akane, that's it. I was really close.
No, you weren't.
Ayame Akane? Come on.
Akane says, Oki, what about me? You know, yeah, I'd have trouble shooting you too. Yay! What weird people.
Very easy to please.
Yeah. Yuzuru gets a message from Kageura asking them to hang out, but Izuho and Chika have other places to be. They go off to train with Yura. Akane has the cat now. So they say their goodbyes, and the last ones being between Chika and Yuzuru, because she says, yeah, we'll see you in the next match. And Yuzuru's like, yeah, in the next match. Please go out with me. So they go to Kageura's family's okonomiyaki shop. Okay, in a million years, I never thought that we would get an okonomiyaki episode of World Trigger. These, honestly, like, I've seen a lot of these because, you know, they're a popular kind of hangout location in Japan. So, you know, there was a chapter like this in iShield 20. There was a fucking mini arc like this in Prince of Tennis. But in general, just like, hey, yeah, let's go get okonomiyaki. It's very, honestly, specifically like in sports manga because, you know, guys need their fucking protein, so the team goes and hangs out at it's very hard to say it over and over again. An okonomiyaki shop.
Just saying, if it was called a honey mustard shop, it'd be easier to remember.
Much easier. Yuma, why aren't you putting any honey mustard on your okonomiyaki? You've got the sauce and the mayo and the bonito flakes, but where's the honey mustard?
He's like, oh, what a fool I've been. And that's when his body inside of him decays away. And he's like, ah!
It was too delicious.
Credits. Worth it.
I do like the dynamic because you know Yuma's being introduced to this by the rest of them while they hang out. It's kind of cool. They have just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's there's little notes here and there like Kageura. They kind of grow like why are you why do you get along with Kuga so well? And he's like, look, this kid's waited for the rest of you guys. Most guys out there, they try to attack me, their emotions come out, and they're like, I'm going to attack you before the actual attack because of my side effect. And this guy doesn't have that. He's like a machine or a bug. And to see somebody fight me with no emotion like that, the only other person like that is Azuma. And that makes our fights way more thrilling and fun. So that's why I like him. And I like that they're like, oh, yeah, I got you. Sword without mind. And you was just like, I don't get it. And then suddenly Kageura, I love that the way that he transitions. This is like less elegant than whenever we go off topic on our podcast. By the way, this is totally different, but
by the way, enough about me. This dude's got a crush on your sniper. He's gonna throw the match.
And of course, Yuzuru is taking a fucking drink when he brings that up. And I like how Yuma's like, you've got a good eye. Chika is a nice and determined lady, I assure you.
I do like that.
Listen, Yuzuru, if you want to date my little sister Chika.
It's so very, like, polite, like... I don't know.
You have good taste. Chica's a good girl.
Yeah, like it's almost as though he's like the matchmaker from like the fucking early days, and it's all like, oh yes, you have an interest in Chica? Well, she is.
Oh my gosh, you want to date Chica? Let me tell you, she's a wonderful lady.
She's so determined, so nice. She's gonna make a great catch for you, and then fucking they come by in the background.
You'll be lucky to land a girl as sweet as her, but you've got to be nice to her. If I ever find out you mistreated her, I'm going to shove this mindless sword right up your bum. Okay.
I'm like, well, thank you, matchmaker Trump. I'll take your advice and follow it to the T.
Listen, Chica is a wonderful girl. She's the best girl. I have only the best girls on my team.
Not Muslim. That's important. I'm like, oh.
But thank God she's got that try-on body. Otherwise, she'd be bleeding from her eyes, bleeding out of you know what.
I'm like, uh-oh.
God damn it! Now I brought that up. We're never going to get away from it, even though I don't want. Anyway, there's different reactions from everyone whenever, the cat's been let out of the bag with users crushing on Chica. And but Kaguya is just like, you're going to throw the match. What the fuck? So they're kind of grilling him about it. And user says, well, no, look, our team doesn't really want to join the away squad. So wouldn't it be better to give that spot up for them? And he was just like, no, that's actually not a big deal because they've already decided that she's just going to be on the team regardless. She'll, she's got a massive amount of try-on. They want her to be included on the mission even if our team doesn't make it. And user is still like, well, but wouldn't it be better for her if her team went along instead of her having to go alone? I mean, that'd be more reassuring if she had her team there to help out. And so Kaguya's just like, oh, come the fuck on. Why do you have to be such a... Arifune shows up along with Hikari, and they start hanging out too. Arifune removes his baseball cap, Chris. Oh my God.
You know what? It's kind of tough to actually tell who that is at that point. Then
he looks completely different when you can see all of his hair. It's so weird.
Yeah.
They explain the situation to him off panel, and so he's the one who offers the sage advice. But honestly, looking at the crowd that had been gathered there before he showed up, yeah, you bunch of knuckleheads would have never come up with a smart decision on your own, so thank God he came along. Arifune showing that strong teamwork and leadership abilities. He's really good at this, Chris.
Stop being such a biatch.
But yeah, Arifune just says, well, look, Emma, just join the away team yourself. That way you can be together with the little Tamakoma girl and look out for her. So don't deliberately lose. That way she won't have to be lonely. She'll have you along to help out. If you're worried about her safety, then go protect her yourself. And then Yuma finally comes in and he's just like, all right, this is the only way this is the only contribution I can make is being arrogant. So, okay, here we go. Whether you throw the match or not, it doesn't make any difference to us because whichever you choose, we're going to be the ones to win. So, I mean, it's been such a weird set of chapters lately, honestly, just having this World Trigger, the slice of life manga, without a whole lot of really intense moments here and there. But I don't know, it's because we've gotten used to many of these characters anyway, getting them in different contexts and using those to build them up, as opposed to everything has to be about the mission or the training or whatever they're working on. It's a nice change of pace. And I don't think that this is going to last too much longer. I'm going to be getting into the countdown to the next rank war, probably in the next chapter. But this has been a nice little diversion, I think.
Yeah, it has been nice. That's really all to say. There's not a whole lot to say about this chapter. It was fun, but it was what it was.
Okay.
Before we wrap up, then, I wanted to bring up another series that's entered into Jump and is apparently going to be a regular going forward, and that is RWBY. For those of you who don't know, RWBY is an animated series that's made by Rooster Teeth.
I don't know how anyone could have honestly not heard about it by this point.
If you're not up to date with that stuff, especially if you don't watch anime of any kind, it might just go over your head because it's not... It's still niche. Like, it's not so mainstream. It's like on Cartoon Network or...
It's definitely not, no.
But it's something that I think a lot of people have heard about. I didn't know about this. There's, I guess, a manga adaptation. I believe it comes out in Japan, and now it's being translated and put into the English Shonen Jump. And it's going to be weekly, from what I understand. I don't know if it's going to stay weekly, but it's an ongoing series in Japan, and it's apparently going to be weekly in our Jump, at least for the time being. So there's that to talk about. There's not honestly too much to say about this chapter. I heard that this is supposed to be a prequel series, but I don't think it is, or it's a weird prequel series, because I did watch the first episode of RWBY, and that had the characters like Ruby and Wise like meeting for the first time. Whereas this essentially is like 7 or so pages of combat, and then it's the 4 girls walking together into school and talking about the world essentially. They explain like their world was engulfed in darkness. There were monsters out there called the Grim or the Heartless, but there was a special power that helps them fight that called Dust. And then they kind of just talk about Dust at the school table before one of their male classmates gets thrown into the table. John, I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's Gene. And I guess a bully did that, and that's the end of the chapter. It's sort of weird. I'm going to be kind of interested to see where this goes, because I don't actually know very much of anything about the RWBY universe or franchise. This first chapter is a bit strange because it's mostly all action, and then very like weird kind of setup to the plot. I guess I kind of need to see where the story goes, because if it is a prequel, and then I'm like, what's the regular series about if they all know each other and are friends and are a team? But yeah, stay tuned for that, and we'll try to recap that in the weeks forward. See what happens.
Okay. All right. Well, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap, guys. So thank you for joining us. We do the show normally on Wednesdays at about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though sometimes we do need to change up the stream time or the stream location. So in order to stay updated on that stuff and to know where and when to join us, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow @WMR Podcast as our official Twitter account for the podcast. You can also follow us individually. He is at Royalty and I'm at Y Ruler of Time. Be sure, of course, to check us out on iTunes, where you can subscribe and leave a comment. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can check out all of our past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com as well.
Yes. Sorry. Carry on.
All right. Be sure to send us criticism, ask us questions, suggest future manga for us to read by sending all that stuff to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com. That is the best place to send suggestions for us, because that's where we archive all of our suggestions anyway. So.
Yes.
Special thanks go out to our Patreon supporters. Your support allows us to create all sorts of bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We are going to be working on something... I've forgotten entirely what we actually planned before this episode started. Never mind.
It's going to be our bonus pod for this month is going to be Weekly Manga Recap Lives, but we're going to be doing sort of an all-star version of it. So we're going to go into the library of our series we talk about and try to pull up some of the most notable chapters of those franchises.
Into the archives.
So we won't be pulling off of just chapters that have happened within the past few months or so. We'll actually be going back and trying to nail down like its biggest chapters.
Mm-hmm. Especially, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
We also just posted up the top 10 dumbest moments in Air Gear that we didn't already talk about. So if you are a patron from October or you want to go check that out, you can grab it right now. We actually have Annalise on it as a special guest, and it's a fun episode with a lot of crazy things brought up. It still numbs my mind a little bit to think about some of them, but go check that out. And also, special thanks to Corbett Hannum, Nicholas Dupree, Andrew McKitty, and Cody Mann, who are our newest patrons. Thank you very much, all of you guys.
Mm-hmm. And, fuck, I keep on losing my train of thought.
It's one of those days.
Yeah. Thanks to you guys who have supported us on Patreon. If you also want to help out the podcast in a different way, hey, just share us with someone who you think would enjoy it. If you think that they would enjoy two nerds allegedly talking about manga, but just taking the chance to instead talk about Luke Cage and other stuff. And, see if they'll enjoy it as well.
Or just kidnap somebody and, strap them to a chair.
Take them down.
Orange style and just force them.
Yeah, until all they can think about is giving us their money,
Yeah. Must support Nudniks.
Be sure to give thanks to Steve Man, our Tarek, as well as Infamous Planet, who, of course, Chris talked about before. He may have terrible opinions when it comes to entertainment, but he does do some invaluable work for the podcast, helping us out by making these cool visuals for the streaming and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for that. And we're going to be still working on, I am still going to be working on JoJo Stardust Crusaders for the next couple of weeks or so. While Chris is just like, I already know this series. Fuck you.
It's so nice. I'm like kicking my legs up like,
I should like try and surprise you by like referencing the single most obscure incidents I can fucking think of. What, you don't remember that, Chris? Come on.
There actually are quite a few fights I have to go back and catch up on essentially. But also we didn't do our MVPs.
Of course, you're right. I knew that there was something that I was forgetting. That's why I was like, I swear, like I think that was it. Like every single time that I was getting ready to move on to the next one, I was like, there's something I'm forgetting. I'll start us off. My series of the week this time is One Piece. I thought that the confrontation between Luffy and Sanji was really good. I liked the emotion of it. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think I'll give it to One Piece as well. It was really solid, enjoyable. Promised Neverland was right up there along with it, but I'm going to give it to One Piece this week. And
I also consider giving it to Promised Neverland. Instead, decided to give my MVP to because shit, he had it down, didn't he?
Say who it was again. You cut it out.
I said Norman. Because
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only going to have this opportunity once, so my character of the week is Honey Mustard.
Fuck you.
That's not a joke. Put that down. Character MVP of the week is Honey Mustard.
Okay. It's not
It
sentient,
made
Chris.
an impact, Nick! Fine, you can put down Honey Mustard and then in parentheses like ... Ray. But Honey Mustard. Or put Ray ... but really it's Honey Mustard.
Hang on. Really, it's Honey Mustard. Promised Neverland. / yes, it was that chapter of Food Wars.
I like the people in the chat who are yelling at me that I can't pick Honey Mustard, as though they make the rules to this game.
I'm not saying you can't pick it. I was just like, you have to pick something else in addition, though. You can't pick Honey Mustard, you fucker. Oh god, I have a mess in the chat. At what point did you talk about me? I want to watch. I can't be bothered.
He's going to be too lazy to listen to the whole episode, but
I want to have the praise.
So he's like, oh no, they's revealed me for being a pretty prejudiced racist.
I at least want to have that. I at least want to make sure that accusation is accurate.
Quite blimey, they exposed me as a wanker, they has. Pip, pip.
Cheerio. All right, guys. Toodaloo. We'll see you in the next episode of Weekly Manga Recap, where we'll try not to insult Infamous Planet quite as much at the end.
I make
no promises, though.